So after all of the backlash and discourse, I think, from the past few days after the new Bilt card got released, the CEO of Bilt, Anker, has released a new statement with a new option for people to choose from. So I'm going to break that down in this video and then walk through my analysis of how I view this change and how I think would be the best way to optimize with the new option. So the option that they originally released a few days ago still stands, where you can earn 4% Bilt cash and use that to cover the fee so that you can earn the full amount of points on rent. They've also introduced this new option where it's kind of like a sliding scale on the number of points you can earn. So I'm going to break that down really quickly, just going down this table. It's based on a minimum spend percentage of monthly rent. So the lowest tier is spending 25% of monthly rent will get you 0.5x points. So for example, keeping it simple, if your rent is $1,000, you need to spend 25% of that, so $250, in order to get half of that in points. So spending $250 to get 500 points on a $1,000 monthly rent payment. If we keep just going down, you have to spend 50% of monthly rent to get 0.75 points. You have to spend 75% of monthly rent to get the full rent amount in points, which this is the same as the Bilt Cash option, where you basically have to spend 75% of your monthly rent in order to earn enough Bilt Cash to get points on your full rent payment. So these are equivalent, and that makes sense why they would do that. And then the most interesting, I think, the different part about this new option is previously, even with the Bilt 1.0, you could only earn, like, the max amount of points you could earn is your monthly rent payment. But with this new option, you could actually earn more than your rent payment. You can earn up to 1.25x points if you spend the same or more as your monthly payment. So if your rent is $1,000, you spend $1,000 or more in a month, you can actually get 1,250 points. So that's a breakdown of how this new system works, and it's very interesting that you can switch back and forth between these two options freely as you please. So I'm going to break down how I view this, and I think how to best optimize this. I am going to walk through how to get the greatest value for money, and what I mean by this is to get the most points per dollar. Now, if you're trying to optimize just to get the most number of points, then obviously you should just aim for the 1.25x points, but obviously you're going to spend a lot more money there, and your value per dollar is going to be less, but your total number of points is going to be bigger. So that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about for every dollar that you spend, how you can get the most amount of points there. So I actually think, from doing my math, and feel free to check me, because I could be wrong, but I don't think I did my math wrong. I actually think just spending the minimum gets you the best value. So to walk through with an example, if you have a monthly rent of $1,000, the lowest tier is to spend 25% of monthly rent, and you would get half of that in points. So if you spend $250, you would get 500 points if your rent is $1,000. Now, I'm not going to think about the $1,000 you paid in rent, because you would have to pay that rent anyways, and there's no other card that you can use to get points on that anyways. So we're ignoring the $1,000 you paid for rent. But to get the 500 points on rent, you basically spent $250. So 500 points divided by 250, that's a 2x multiple. So for every $1 you spent, you got 2x points. However, with the $0 annual fee card, there's already a 1x multiple for every day spent. So for the 250 you spent, you're already earning 1 point per dollar there. So you're earning the 500 from rent, and then another 250 from the everyday spend. So you're getting 750 total points for 250 in spend, which works out to a 3x multiple. So you're getting for every $1 you spend, you're getting a 3x multiple by hitting the 25% of monthly spend. Now, this only goes down as you increase more. So if I just walk through these examples here, to spend 50% of monthly rent, you get 0.75 points. So basically you're spending $500 to get 750 points. That is a 1.5 multiple plus the 1x spend multiple you get just for spending 500. That is 2.5 points per dollar. As you go down, if you spend 75% of monthly rent to get the full housing or rent amount, you get 1,000 points for spending 750. That's a 1.33 multiple. Add in the 1x multiple just for using the card, that's 2.33 points per dollar. And finally, for the 1.25 points, you spend $1,000, you get 1,250 points. That's a 1.25 multiple. You add in the 1x everyday spend multiple. That is total 2.25 points per dollar. So as you can see, it actually benefits you more to do less, to spend less because your multiple is higher. And I think that actually could make sense. So I'm doing this analysis purely based on the $0 annual fee one. The value is going to be higher if you get like the $95 one or the $495 one, because there you could be getting 2x on everyday spend instead of 1x. But I'm just focusing on the $0 annual fee because I'm thinking about this from the point of if you don't have the spend profile to really justify a 95 or 495 annual fee one, or you don't want to do the math to see if spending the annual fee makes sense. So I'm doing this based on the $0 annual fee one. It appears that it actually makes sense to just spend the minimum. And if you think about a lot of other cards, like free cards even out there, or even the Chase Sapphire Preferred, or just other cards that you might currently use where you could be getting 3% on restaurant or 3% on gas or something, where you would prefer to use a card that gives you 3% versus the 1% that Bilt is giving you here. If you do the math, because you're not earning rent points on any other card, it actually kind of makes sense. If you only spend 25% of your monthly rent, you're getting a 3x multiple per dollar. So it makes sense to actually use, if you can spend up to 25% to hit that 0.5x, I think it makes sense to shift that spend to Bilt, because then you're still getting 3 points per dollar, which other cards are getting you 3 points per dollar. So I think in summary, for the person who wants to earn some points on rent and doesn't want to deal with an annual fee, or doesn't have the spend profile to justify one of the higher annual fee cards, with this new change, the free Bilt card could actually make sense. And I think to optimize this, I'm still noodling on this, but I think what I might do is to truly optimize, since you can switch back and forth between the two options that they've laid out. What I might do is open up the Bilt card. It's not a hard pull, so it won't affect your credit score, and you get the $100 Bilt cash bonus. Depending on how much your rent payment is, that should be good to last you from 1 to 4 months. Again, depending on how much. If you have a really cheap rent, it'll last you even longer. Who knows? And use the $100 Bilt cash, so you're just getting points on the full rent payment. Then when that runs out, switch to this new option that they came out with the tiered version, and just spend 25% of your monthly rent, which I think is much more doable to hit than trying to hit the 75% of monthly rent to earn enough Bilt cash to get the full amount of points. And if you spend 25% of monthly rent, you're still earning points at a rate such that you're earning 3 points per dollar. And then for all the other spend, you can put it on your other cards. But in this way, you are getting some points for rent where you would not be getting points for rent anywhere else. And even if you can't hit the 25% monthly rent spend, it might still make sense to get the $0 annual fee one, because you're getting 250 points regardless, just for paying rent through Bilt, and it's still no fees, no transaction fees. So you have to pay rent anyways. You pay it through Bilt, even if you can't meet the 25% spend. You're getting 250 points per month for a no fee card over 12 months. 250 times 12 is 3,000 points that you're basically getting for free every year, which is not a lot, but I mean, 3,000 points is 3,000 points. You can still transfer it to like Hyatt. Some nights you can get for 5,000 points. Southwest, sometimes you can get a flight for, a few thousand. I've gotten a flight for 3,000 before. So that's a free 3,000 points that you would be getting for not paying an annual fee that you would not be getting otherwise. And if you can't hit the 25% monthly rent, you'd be earning slightly more points. You're not earning the full amount of points on rent, but you're earning some at a 3x per dollar multiple, which kind of matches what a lot of the other cards out there would give you. So I think for somebody who doesn't want to pay an annual fee, doesn't have that high of a high spending profile, and still wants to earn points on rent, the $0 annual fee Bilt card might actually make sense. And the method that I just outlined, I think, might be the best way to optimize for points. Again, this doesn't take into account the paid annual fee ones. But yeah, I'd be curious to hear what other people think.